like to hone in immediately on what I don't like about a product, waiting until later to talk about what I do like. This approach works great for my reviews, though my personal life has suffered.
You never heard of Diane Bish? What rock did you crawl out from under? You did not just order Pinot Grigio with your prime rib, did you? I just think you look fake.
Unlike people, products are there to greet you the next day, where I can learn to appreciate their good qualities. So don't leave so quickly when I start ripping a product apart. The good is just around the corner. Now, JDS Labs sent me the Atom 2 amp and the Atom 2 DAC for my honest review. And honestly, I don't like the selector buttons. They feel cheap. I know better buttons cost more, but I didn't pay for these products, so I do expect better. They're also not pretty enough because they sent me these blank, without my scientific audiophile logo etched into the casing, which is a free service they offer to anyone buying one. I honestly can't imagine anyone ordering these without taking them up on that free laser etching service. Personalization is the very essence of audiophilia. One other item I would have liked is if the DAC was powered with a short cable from the amp, so you wouldn't need a second wall wart adapter or simply be USB powered. But with the 15-volt input, the USB option may not be a simple solution for their engineers. Pricing for each unit is $129, but you can get the two in a bundle for $273. I know, you're expecting a discount for buying both at the same time, which goes to show how little you know about business marketing. Because for that extra $15, you get a 6-inch short stack RCA cables. The pair I'm using were $10 from Amazon. Both units have a metal chassis, but let's take a closer look at the Amp 2. Its volume control is solid, and it feels great. But I also love the tactile click you get when you turn it on and off. I know some of my subscribers like a separate on-off control to keep the volume separate, and I do for hi-fi stereo equipment, but for desktop equipment, this is my preferred design. You get both a 6.35mm and 4.4mm headphone outputs promising up to 2.6 watts. Yes, you heard that correctly, freaking 2.6 watts. But I've heard promises of power in the past diminished by clipping into my low-ohm headphones. So we'll test out these claims in our listening section. You've got your gain selector and input selector. The input selector switches from line input to the 3.5mm input on the rear. And talking about the rear, here it is. You've got your RCA inputs, RCA outputs, 3.5mm input, and notice the 16 above the power input. Be careful with this because if you get both the DAC and the amp, the DAC wants 15 volts. So don't mix up the two AC adapters they send you as they are different. You'd think for a company that's trying to hit a low price point, they simply use one type of AC adapter to simplify sales and inventory. But I'm no businessman. Return on investment, return on equity, earnings before income taxes and amortization, first in, first out inventory management. These are things that mean absolutely nothing to me, and I simply do not understand them. Now on to our DAC 2. It's an even simpler design than the Amp 2. You have one switch between USB or optical input. The rear of the unit has your RCA output, USB-C input. By the way, the cable that comes in the box is USB-C to USB-A, optical input, and the power input. And please notice the 15 above it. And you have a power switch. Switching the power on illuminates the light ring on the front. I would really have liked the front ring to be the on-off button. Otherwise, I will simply never turn this unit off because I don't like to blindly feel for switches on the rear of a unit. As a wise audiophile once said, to feel blindly on the rear can have terrible unintended consequences. However, if the unit is set to USB input and doesn't receive a signal for over 5 minutes, it will go into auto standby. You'll know this because the light ring will fade away. I set a timer to verify. Let's take a look at the end of our 5-minute test. More importantly, after the unit goes on standby, JDS makes the claim that when it senses sound, it doesn't just wake up, but does so instantly. This required another test, so let's look at the exact time I mouse click on that play button and when the Atom 2 DAC turns on.
Okay, let's see how instantly it comes back on when we push the play button.
Quite impressive. Now, a lot of companies make annoying statements that our customers are the best customers in the world. So I have to give JDS Labs a ton of credit when they talk straight about their customers. On their DAC 2 page, under the upgradable firmware section, they state Atom DAC 2's XMOS-based firmware configures and manages all functionality with DFU support for future updates. Basically, it's so simple to use that even JDS Labs DFU users won't have any issues upgrading the firmware. That's very honest of them. Finally, that brings us to the listening tests. For what is considered a low-cost DAC amp solution, $260 is $30 more than the Zen DAC 3 I recently reviewed. It's $160 more than the Fosse SK02 and twice the price of the FIO K11. All of the competitors I just mentioned are dual DAC amps. All have more features. The Zen DAC 3 has that cool X-Bass function. The Fosse SK02 has a very cool multi-function volume knob. The FIO K11 has a very nice display. Therefore, I am expecting nothing less than a fully transparent DAC. We've gotten to the point in DAC development where the ones and the zeros shouldn't get screwed up being converted to analog. I really don't care if it's a $9 dongle or a $2,500 DAC. Getting this right has to be a no-brainer, and the Atom DAC 2 did just that. And like the Zen DAC 3, I like not having a bunch of filters to play with. Implement one filter, do it right, and you shouldn't need 6 of them for users to play with. If you can hear the difference between filters, something is wrong with their implementation. I know most filters start tailing off after 20,000, and Golden Sound over at the Headphone Show says he can hear above 20,000 hertz, as all audiophiles can. Only standard humans can't hear above 20,000, so that wasn't news. But while you and I and other audiophiles can hear test tones above 20,000, there is literally almost no music that goes above 20,000. And believe me, the engineers recording your music can't hear above 20,000 either. Even when Diane Bish is live, she never plays the pipes smaller than 8 millimeters. Diane prefers to go down on the bigger pipes. So that is my long-winded statement that the JDS Atom DAC 2 is transparent to all humans, audiophiles included. But if you want an $800 USB cable to hear what the cable included in the box simply can't deliver, then my channel isn't for you. I suggest heading over to Lachlan at Passion for Audio for a guy who claims he can hear the difference between a 0 and a 0. Over to the optical input, where something wasn't right. The soundstage was just a bit compressed. Replacing my generic optical cable with the $329 AudioQuest Vodka optical cable did the trick. I'm just pausing to give people that don't understand sarcasm the opportunity to comment in the video below and make for a lively conversation. I did hook up my Yamaha CD-S2100 via the optical out for a long-term listen, which has got to be the stupidest looking hi-fi setup ever, as the Atom 2 DAC is clearly a desktop product. But I had no better source for an optical output. Using Bish's latest CD hit me hard and soft. I can assure you the optical input is as bit perfect as the USB. The Atom 2 amplifier makes the boisterous claim of 2.6 watts, so I'll spare everyone the 10-minute explanation and get right to the point. It delivers. No clipping into my 13-ohm Dan Clark Open Axis. No clipping into my 8-ohm Verum 1s. And power galore. That is so clean, you'd swear this was a $500 standalone headphone amp. Just awesome. I tested both headphone outputs, and my only word of warning is one does not simply push the gain switch on the Atom 2 amp. That could deafen you. you need to make sure you lower the volume first before increasing that gain. Then you can safely flip the switch. If anyone is interested, I did not test the 3.5 millimeter input on the back. So that brings us to our infinite rating. And let's get right to it. The Atom Amp 2 and the DAC 2 stack deserve nothing less than a J. Lore Estates Los Osos Merlot 2020, and it should be paired with a Tuscan butter shrimp served over a lemon rice. One hell of a meal at a price well below what you would have expected. Now, Helmholtz and I have tested a bunch of DAC amps in the past year, and except for the 6-year-old $1,249 RME ADI2, they all seem to have one issue or another, usually with the amp simply clipping or distorting into low-ohm headphones at very loud levels, or simply not being powerful enough to drive some headphones at all. JDS Labs has created a DAC amp stack that, while not a perfect product, it is perfect as far as sound quality goes. If you spend $260 on this stack, you can be rest assured that no DAC at any price is going to sound better. And you can also be rest assured that no headphone amp at any price will sound better either. That is what JDS Labs has finally done. Created a sub $300 DAC amp stack that is acoustically uncompromised. If you like this review, please subscribe so you will be notified the next time one of our videos drop. Have a very great day.